Apparently, they do it on purpose. This is ridiculous. This is not normal at all. And then there is another thing that is very common, and I personally find it so annoying. Hey guys, welcome back to Dramatically Expatic. If you remember, a couple of weeks ago I talked about the most common rental scams that students and expats face when coming to Italy, and even before that I talked about the pickpocketing and things you should look out for when you are here. So today I decided to kind of combine both topics and talk about the most common tourist scams that you should know about and beware when visiting Italy. Just as a quick disclaimer, I want to say that these tourist scams may happen anywhere in the world, and Italy is not anything special in terms of scams. I mean, these scams happen everywhere, but since this channel mostly focuses on Italy and I live in Italy and I'm speaking from my experience as well, we'll be talking about Italy today. So guys, before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and let's jump into the video. I wanted to begin with something less obvious and, well, let's call it the tourist prices. What I'm talking about is that some places apparently will have different tourist prices or just elevated tourist prices. And yeah, obviously I'm talking about the places in very, very touristy areas. This will not happen to you in a small town or even in a less touristy area of a bigger town, but these things unfortunately are very, very common in the city centers of the places that tourists visit a lot. Personally, it happened only once to me during my very first year of living in Italy. I remember very, very well of how I went to Florence and had a cappuccino in Piazza della Signoria, so probably I should have expected it because it was right in the city center opposite Palazzo Vecchio, but still guys, I paid €6 for my cappuccino. Now I know that for many of you coming from the US, for example, this price will be a normal price for coffee, more or less, but this is not normal in Italy. This is absolutely not normal. Usually you will pay something around €1.50 to €2 for a cup of cappuccino, so paying €6 is overpaying a lot. But since that place was so centrally located and so visited by tourists, it had the price that it had. Also, I remember seeing gelato for €9 for like 2 scoops or something like that near Ponte Vecchio, which is also not normal at all. And guys, by the way, if you want to know where to get really, really good gelato in Florence for a normal price, a regular price for gelato in Italy, check out the link up here because I have a video on budget Florence where I share all of my tips with you. And well, you know, these things happen. So what I always recommend you to do to avoid this is to look further than the city center and try to find less touristy spots to have lunch or even to have gelato or coffee, because you know, you can clearly have it there, but you will be overpaying and it will not always guarantee you the high quality of the products that you will have elsewhere. And I know that sometimes these things go to an extreme and go even further than just €6 for a cup of cappuccino. Quite recently, one event that happened in Rome made the news when a couple of American tourists had lunch, paying about €80 for 2 hamburgers and 3 cups of coffee. This is ridiculous. This is not normal at all. And honestly, guys, it feels like robbery. This should not happen anytime, anywhere. You know, well, probably the people who bought these hamburgers, well, we will leave the fact that they ate hamburgers in Italy because probably it's not the thing that you want to eat in Italy anyway, but I suppose they did not expect the price like that because eventually their restaurant bill ended up on social networks and people were lashing out at the restaurant that charged so much for lunch. But it was a touristy area and I would definitely call it a tourist scam or even a tourist trap that you should look out for when visiting big touristy cities. Now, another thing that shocks many foreigners in Italy is how often you will be offered the supposedly free products that will not be free afterwards. I mean, all kinds of bracelets of flowers, for example, that people might offer you on the streets, or especially, and it's very, very common even in Bologna, when you're sitting in a restaurant on an open terrace. Imagine a situation when you are walking down the street or sitting in a restaurant, as I said, someone approaches you with a bunch of different bracelets hanging from the thing that they're carrying and offer you to try on one of these bracelets. And usually these are very simple handmade bracelets. They will tell you that it's completely free to try on, and when you try it on, they will demand money. We can then discuss that it might be something that makes sense since they probably made it or not. But anyway, guys, of course they will not charge you much. They will charge you probably €1 or something, but it just gives you an unpleasant impression afterwards. So that's what I'm talking about. Beware when people are offering you free things. And then there is another thing that is very common, and I personally find it so annoying. When you're having a date dinner or a date lunch, and imagine a couple sitting together on an open terrace in the restaurant. Yeah, I know I'm repeating it a lot, but this is where it happens very, very often. And then someone approaches you with a large bouquet of flowers, and they offer one of these flowers, a rose, most commonly a rose, to your date or to you, and they insist on you taking it. And then you may feel weird for not taking it, for not accepting it, or your date might feel weird as if they didn't want to give it to you, and then they will give in and will be kind of forced to buy this flower. Trust me, no date will ever be offended. I personally am never offended if I'm sitting on a date and then someone starts forcing this flower on me. If my date refuses politely and does not take this flower from the people offering it, supposedly for free, and they will ask you for money. Guys, I just think it's super annoying. Not a big deal. I know it's not such a huge scam that will charge you a lot or anything, but it's just a very annoying occurrence, and especially it's annoying because it happens when you least expect it. So just so that you know, it happens, and it's okay to just politely refuse and go on with your day. Guys, if you are new here, if you haven't heard yet, I also launched a newsletter this month. It is a monthly newsletter where I cover the best things happening in Italy, events and different itineraries and tips and even dishes and recipes. I'm pretty sure you're going to love it. I already have the October newsletter, and the November newsletter is coming out in about 1 week, I think, more or less. So make sure to check the link in the description box and subscribe so you don't miss it and you don't miss all of my best tips that do not make it to my videos. And last but not least, the third scam that I wanted to talk about today is the one that will probably cost you the most in case if you encounter it and if you're unaware of it. It happens a lot in big touristy cities, and especially in Florence it is very, very common, unfortunately, when people, supposedly street artists, supposedly artists in general, but most likely not, will lay out their artworks right on the street, on the ground, in very touristy areas like the Uffizi Gallery or the street near the Ponte Vecchio, or all these very central streets. If you've been to Florence, guys, you know what I'm talking about. There are crowds and crowds of tourists walking everywhere at all times, and sometimes it is difficult to navigate the streets, let alone minding your step. So these people are taking advantage of these tourists who do not suspect anything. They will lay out their art pieces, their artworks, their paintings right on the ground, and they will expect the unsuspecting tourists to step on them, to ask for money after. And this is awful in my opinion, because you are working there, you're relaxed, you're watching the landmarks around you, you're enjoying the architecture, and obviously you do not mind your step. But then after you step on it, of course they will demand some money. Some of them, of these scammers, go even further and will step on these art pieces before you even appear there. Then they will try to tell you that it were you who stepped on it and demand the money. I've even heard of some a little bit violent encounters with these people. I've never experienced it myself. I've never seen anything like this with my eyes, but I've heard a lot of these stories on the internet. And yes, I've seen these people with my eyes. I've seen these people laying their paintings on the ground, and I've always found it quite annoying because yes, you actually have to navigate in between these paintings, not to step on them. And I've always thought about, when they do it, someone will eventually step on it. apparently they do it on purpose and they expect you to step on it. So guys, mind your step when you are in very crowded areas. Of course, you should also check your pockets and beware of the pickpockets. And if you want to know my best tips for avoiding the pickpockets in Italy, I will leave you a link up here. Check it out. I have a dedicated video on this topic. But also, guys, mind your step and be extra cautious when walking in these very crowded touristy areas, not only for pickpockets, but also for the scams like this. By the way, guys, tell me in the comments if you have ever been a victim of a touristy scam in Italy, or if there are any other scams that you'd like to let people know about and to add to my list of top 3 scams that tourists may face in Italy. And having said that, of course, things happen and things happen everywhere, as I said at the beginning of this video. But you know, to avoid them happening on your vacation and to avoid ruining your vacation, just pay a little bit of extra attention, be cautious and follow the common sense. This is the best advice I could ever give you when going on a holiday, on vacation, anywhere in the world, pretty much. And guys, once again, I remind you to subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed yet, to get the best tips, travel tips and expat life tips, because I also make videos about expat life in Italy, showcasing my own life here and also sharing my tips and my knowledge and experience, as well as numerous travel vlogs from Italy and beyond. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button down below so you don't miss anything new. And don't forget to put a thumbs up, comment, share this video with other people who might find it useful, and I'll be happy to see you here once again. Thank you so much for being here and be cautious.